Excellent. So what we're looking for is a little lean-to roof. This is a rental property, so we want to do minimal damage to the building, but also we wanted the potential and the landlord didn't want it, then you can take it with you and you can use the materials again. So the load-bearing part of this is this this 2x1, 45 by 22 or something, so 2x1, and we've battened it onto the sides like so. So the first place to start from is the lowest point here. You want that to be higher than the highest point on your roof, so you have to take into account the width of your corrugated plastic. So that's around about 20 mil. Give it 25 mil for the bevel and everything else, or give it 30 mil. The other thing is our frame. So our frame is roughly 100 mil, 10 centimeters. So we want 13 centimeters between the very highest point and where we start our batten. If you look over here, it's about that point there. So you snap down 13 mil and you take a level, you take that straight across, and that's where that first batten's going to go. Then you want to put in your sides, and you want to set your fall. And in this case, we've actually used this pipe. This pipe is our set point. So we've dropped from up here down, and marking this up should take about a third of the length of time. Marking this up and cutting the pieces and fixing this should be about a third of the overall project time. You want to get this right now. You want to make sure that this point and this point are level. And you can do it in a number of creative ways, but you do need a piece of wood which is going to go from here to here. And you can put that piece of wood across and you can put a level on that, and that will be good enough. It's fixed with hammer fixings. So these, you drill a hole which is the same size as the sleeve, the plastic sleeve. You push the sleeve in, and then you can hammer in the screw nail in. If it's getting a little bit loose or anything like that, you can actually finish it off by screwing it. And if you want to take it out, you can screw it back out, and that'll allow you to take off this batten afterwards. And that means then that if you do want to get rid of this very quickly, you can disassemble the whole thing, and all you're left with is a few small holes in the wall, which a landlord is not going to worry about. You can fill them if you want, but you got this like this, which are in the wall. You have large cracks, so this will be a very small point to make. What we're going to do is set a frame on top of this. So I've already constructed the frame, which is over here. You can construct this in any one of a number of ways. We've chosen this pattern. The plastic, as you'll see, lines up here. So we get to the edges are supported on the top here. And then you have the two cross beams, which then provide lots of support at the front. What we're going to do next is, as you can see from this frame, by the way, this frame should take about 50% of your time. So there's a little bit of a natural wiggle in it. And if you assume anything's square in a building, you're going to make mistakes. So we're going to set this into position, and then we're going to use a little technique to parallel it and make sure that this is an exact match for that. So yeah, make a cut at that.
Are we recording? Yes, we are.
Excellent. Alright then, so we've set this into position. It's important to remember how you put it in. We have to slide it this way across and drop it in. So as you can see, it's pretty strong. It's not bolted in yet, but if you look over here, you can see how it's going to go in with these eyelets. So these bolts go right the way through up to here, and then we're going to bolt into the lath, into the batten, and that's what's going to hold it in place. The problem is, as we're saying, we need to parallel it. And what we're going to do is use a string, a piece of string from there to there, a piece of string from there to there. Best if it's at right angles, and then when we lift it back down, it'll stop it from going like that. Cool. It's in place, and then all that sort of lateral movement has been taken care of. And what we have done is we've put in a couple of strings from here over to here, and from there over to there. Ideally these are at 90 degrees, but it's close enough. And we're going to lift this down, and we're going to set it in the ground, and we're going to put the plastic on the ground, because working at heights is always dangerous. So, alright. Dale's going to jump in, my beautiful assistant. And we're just going to lift this side straight up. Just slide it down. Yeah, that's it. And that's it.
Yep.
Cool.
Go.
And then we just pop it down on the bolts.
Alright, gotcha.
Great job. Alright, and then now we're going to put the plastic on top. And this just worth checking that these here are roughly right. So that one's a bit taut, that one's a bit loose, so it probably needs a little bit of a kick. Well, yeah, it'd be good enough. Cool. So we stuck in a shed load of screws, and they shorted us on the spring head screws that you should use. So we had to improvise with home-based stuff, not advertising them. So yeah, there's loads of screws in. The idea is it spreads the weight. No one screw is doing that much work, and you're sort of spreading the force as much as possible. That's the sort of philosophy of the roof. So now we're going to try and offer it up. So we need to have a clear procedure of how we're getting it in. So it's this way, up, in. Not my God. 1 second. Let's put it back in again. That was thunder, so it was. Alright then. Yeah. Okay. Just going to set down for a second. Get on the ladder. Yep. That's great. And then I just do a lift up this end.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's on. No.
Wait.
Go back your way.
Yeah. Right. And let me see the slide. 1 second. You hold it? Well,
Yeah.
just holding that side. Oh, lovely. Right. There we go. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. 1 second. Okay. You could just tap in the front then. That side's in.
Are we recording? Yes, we are.
Alright, so it's been set up in place and it's been bolted in place as well, 6 spots. You can see, you know, it looks a bit skewy, but to be fair, much of that is in the wall. Put a level on it, it's not too bad. And also, it's a DIY job. When you do a DIY job once, you always make mistakes. If you do it a second time, you make half as many mistakes. The third time, you make a quarter as many mistakes. So there's a nice little mistake in here, whereby this one, when I knew when I was putting it in, it wasn't the same length as this one, but it was dark, and you know, we just wanted to get as much done as possible. So we stuck in this to take the weight of the ridge. Whenever you're putting the screws in, you always put it into the top of the ridge, and then, but the actual weight is taken on the bottom. So, but yeah, it does the job. It's strong. So we get Deal hanging off this.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
14 for duty.
Was that 17 stone?
Yeah, 17 stone.
Yep, push upwards. So an interesting thing with roofs is that it'll take more loading going upwards if the wind gets under it than it'll ever take downwards from anything else. So, and yeah, all the way the bolts are going in, if it sort of wants to move left or right, or up or down, or sorry, back and forward or up and down, it only ever puts shear forces on these bolts, and the bolts are very good with shear forces, not with pulling them out forces. So if it wants to go that way, it just presses against this wall. If it wants to go that way, it presses against that wall, and likewise backwards. If it wants to go forwards, then it has to pull these bolts out, so it shouldn't go anywhere. Probably over-engineered, and that is what you're looking for.
So I have to make sure the shape of perspective fits like forwards. Yeah. And then oh yeah, what I did then I made these they're the bits that came out of the joints, so I had to suspend the perspex inside them, so I just used them around them. screwed them in, and then the perspective's held in place, front and back.
That's really nice finish.
That's all MDF, and then checking the perspective still. Every stage I've done this has got to go wrong at some point.
It's a good attitude to have.
Oh, wait, hold on. I think we're on the stage ahead. So that's the wee things in there for
Out comes the sunshine.
And raining still. Well done. So then I have to stain the insides first because that's I think it's